Hey everybody, welcome back to A Person's Haven. My name is Lindsay. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen. Today we have a couple of tasks that we need to get done. The first thing we need to do is we need to preserve these banana peppers. And the second thing that we need to do is we need to make pepper jelly out of these Sugar Rush peach peppers. I also have a few bell peppers in here that I'm going to use to reduce the spiciness of that jelly. But first things first, we are going to get these banana peppers ready to be preserved. I bought these banana peppers from a Mennonite auction, Mennonite stand. I got the whole bushel of banana peppers for $15. I did not realize that banana peppers came in multicolors. I thought they all were this yellowy green color. But after doing some research, I realized that if you leave them on the plant, they will change colors. So I have already washed these peppers. We are going to get them de-seeded and ready to put in jars. All right, so in order to clean banana peppers, what you're going to do is number one, you're going to look for any sorts of rot. So if you look at this banana pepper, it has 2 spots of rotten on them. You can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by cutting off the end. And then I'm going to take my core and core out the middle to get rid of the seeds. So this one still does have quite a bit of seeds. So I might have to pull them out as we go. Sometimes if you kind of tap it, it will come out, but it looks like there's a pretty big seed ball in there. So I am just going to start slicing it into circles, about a 1/4 inch thick. So personally, I don't mind a little seed in mine and some vein. So if you look here, it does have a little bit of vein in it, and I personally don't mind that. I don't think my husband cares either way, but what I don't like is that big main root ball that sits at the top of the peppers. All right, so we have made it to our first rotten spot. And honestly, because these two are so close together, I might just toss this whole thing and move on to the next one. As I go, I'm actually just going to drop these straight into my jars. My jars have already been washed. And I'm just going to keep on working. I did watch a video that said to roll it. My husband just reminded me, so I'm going to give it a try. Although I'm not sure my cedar, my core is even useful for these because some of them are so tiny. I don't think that one even had any seeds. And then this one had a spot at the bottom, so we'll get rid of that. We're going to keep working on these peppers, and we'll come back when we've got our jars filled for the next step. All right, everybody, so we were able to get 8 jars of peppers. We are going to do a Rebel canning method for these peppers. So if you are not into that, certainly make sure you follow your canning book. But my dad does his pickles this way every year, and we've never had any issues. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to take our filled jars and we are going to put them in a 400-degree oven, and we are going to warm everything up. All right, everybody, so we have our jars in the oven warming. We have our lids and rings in this pot of water that we are going to turn on high because we need them to boil. And then we are going to start our brine. So our brine calls for, I want to make sure I get the recipe correct. The brine calls for 1.5 cups of vinegar, and this brine is going to be making 1 jar. So I, for right now, am going to maybe triple the batch, since this is typically for 1 jar. That'll get me 3. But last time I made this, my jar was not packed as full. So I'm going to do that. And then if there's any jars left over, which I think there will be, my husband and I were talking about testing out apple cider vinegar and then doing some of the regular vinegar to see the difference. So tripling the batch, we are going to need 4.5 cups of vinegar. So I will measure that. So that's for batch 1. And perfect amount from what I had left for 3 batches. And then it also calls for equal parts water. So I'm going to turn this on and we're going to get some water. And we'll measure out the same amount of water. Right, so that's equal parts vinegar to water. And then it calls for 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. So I'm going to put 9 cloves of garlic in there. I'm going to squish them. I might actually put more because we like garlic. And I'm probably going to do a bunch more because this does not seem like enough to me. I think I'm going to do at least 1 more handful of garlic cloves in there. That was 2 handfuls of garlic cloves, whatever that adds up to be, I'm not sure. And then the last ingredient in this recipe is sea salt. I'm going to use my canning salt. It says 1/2 to 1 teaspoon. So we will be doing 3 teaspoons. Now typically I also put salt right in my jars when I'm canning. So I may do that as well. I'm unsure. I probably will end up doing that as well. So I'm going to keep the salt over here. And then we are going to bring this to a boil. The key to being able to do pickling without having to can it is everything needs to be hot. Very, very hot. Your jars, your lids, your rings, and your brine. You need to have everything hot. So bring everything to a boil. And once it's boiling and ready, we'll come on back. All right, I decided while we wait for the brine to come to temperature, these pickles, or these, excuse me, peppers are ready to go. I am going to add garlic into each of these. And I'm going to put the salt in there right away as well. To save that step later. So I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of pickling salt. And it looks like my brine is almost ready. It's just starting to boil. Alright, so the lids are boiling in the back. The brine is just starting to boil. So we are going to grab some jars out and start filling them. So I have oven safe gloves because it's going to be easier when you're doing this. You're going to be working fast. And you're going to want to fill that to about 1-inch headspace, which is at the bottom of the jar there. You're going to want to take something and push it down into the peppers to get all the bubbles out. As well as make sure the peppers are in the brine. Then use your handy dandy magnet wand and get a lid out. Put that on and get a ring out. Put that on. I'll throw my glove back on here. Okay, tighten it as tight as you can and then take this over and flip it upside down. And that's it. Alright, so we're making up one more brine with the apple cider vinegar. All right, everybody, so we have our 8 jars of pickles here. Sorry, peppers here, pickled peppers. 5 of them are with white vinegar, the other 5 with apple cider vinegar. The 3 with apple cider vinegar were in the oven significantly longer than I wanted them to, so they did shrink down a little bit. They kind of got a little roasted. But we are going to tuck these peppers in. We are going to let them cool here. I'm going to use my gloves kind of to Maybe hold them up a little bit. Keep the animals away. Our cats like to crawl on the table. And then we will check these probably 24 hours from now to see if they sealed or not. I was planning to do the pepper jelly, but my husband and I do have an appointment that we have to get to today. So that will have to wait till tomorrow. So we will catch you back here tomorrow to do the pepper jelly, as well as check these jars and see if they are sealed. All right, everybody, it is the next day and we are going to check our peppers. All of my jars are completely cool. So here's our first one. This one is sealed. Sealed. And these three are my apple cider vinegar jars, so I will make sure I label those differently. If you are new to canning, to test if your seals are sealed, you just push on the top. If it's not sealed, it will pop. And all of our jars have sealed. So we now have 8 shelf-stable, ready for storage pickled peppers. Typically, you're going to let these sit in this brine for 2, maybe 3 weeks before you open them and use them. And then you can enjoy them. So I'm going to get these labeled. I'm going to move them to my shelf, and then we will get started on the pepper jam and get that taken care of today. All right, everybody. So the next thing that we are going to do is try to use up some of these Sugar Rush peach peppers. The recipe that I found for this pepper jelly, which I've never made before, so this is new to me. All total, the recipe calls for 4 cups of peppers. The spicy peppers only make up 1/4 of a cup. I'll write the recipe below for anyone though, because I probably got that wrong. Because this is my first time making this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by cutting my bell peppers first. They do say to cut your peppers into a small dice. Normally I would use my alligator chopper, but my small dice chopper blade broke. My husband tried to use the chopper once and he broke it. So I'm going to dice it smallly. We're going to get it measured here. So out of the 4 cups, I need 3.5 cups out of this. Hopefully I have enough. If not, I'm going to wing it. And these 2 peppers came from my garden. This guy is a banana pepper that came from my garden. But I believe the rest of these guys are either Sugar Rush Peach or Jalapeno or whatever that one is. He was the only one that came off that plant. So any of the non-spicy peppers, I'm going to cut those first. I learned this trick. I'm going to see if it'll work. I feel like sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So you cut down the rib, or not the rib, I don't know, the crease of the pepper. You cut it into its lobes. And then you peel it right off. and the seeds stay on the inside for the most part. This is not my normal method. It works pretty slick. And prior to cleaning all these, I did wash them. All right, let's get the seeds out of these ones. So honestly, I don't know how this is going to turn out. The only other pepper jelly I've made was jalapeno jelly. And I deveined, deseeded all the things because I do not like spice. With that being said, I'm a little nervous about this pepper jelly. My husband said, don't make it too hot for me. He likes spice, but not melt your face off spice. And personally, I think these Sugar Rush peach peppers are fairly hot. I will not be growing them again this year. Like I said, sorry, I won't be growing them next year. Like I said, I did get this plant from a friend. She had too many for her garden. This isn't the same person that I got all the rest of my plants from. This is somebody else. She's the one that gave me the tomatillo plant, actually. And she had too many plants for her garden from her starts. And I said, hey, one of my YouTube gals that I watch, Acre Homestead, she plants Sugar Rush peach peppers and she loves them. So I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. And I think they're too spicy for me and my family. All right, we need 3.5 cups. When I'm working with peppers, I always wear gloves. Not so much when I'm working with bell peppers, but I figure since I need them on for the Sugar Rush peppers, I might as well just put them on now. And after I get done with this jelly, then I should be done preserving all my peppers for the year. And if I have extra Sugar Rush peppers, I'm actually going to give them to a coworker who surprisingly loves them. I gave her some earlier this year because I picked them and they were starting to get all soggy looking like they are now, and she used them and her family liked them. There definitely was heat there, she said, but my family does not like that much heat. My husband actually told me if some of those peppers disappear, I'll be okay with it. So I did use some in my pico de gallo, which if you watched my dinner party video, you saw me making that. And it actually turned out fairly good. So I'm hoping that this jelly turns out good. And I hope I bought enough bell peppers. I did have to buy these from the store. All right, so I'm going to keep working on these peppers. I'm probably going to just put you on a time lapse for a bit and we will keep on working. All right, we have all of our peppers ready here for our pepper jelly. This is what we have left for Sugar Rush peach peppers. I did pull out some of the soggy looking ones because I am going to take these to my coworker who enjoys spicy peppers. I have a handful of little baby ones that are soggy. I might just put them on top. She can decide if they're good for her family or not. But I will take those to work. Take those to work tomorrow and give them to her to use. Next, I have to go get my jars ready, and then we will be ready to start cooking. All right, everybody. So I am going to water bath can in my electric canner today, mainly because it is raining outside and I don't like to do my water bath canner on my stove because it takes so long to heat up. So we are going to try to water bath can in this canner. I have not done water bath canning in this canner, but good thing there is a quick guide that comes with it. So it looks like it does warm the jars for us. So I did pick out, I believe I have 8 looks like, jelly jars. This recipe says it will make 6, but I got 8. It says that this canner will hold 10 half pints, which are these. And all these jars are cleaned already, so we are going to get them in the canner before we even start the recipe because I'm afraid that recipe is going to go fast and I'm going to have set jelly before I even get it in the canner. So first things first, got to get this canner plugged in. I store my cord inside the canner, otherwise I lose things. And if you guys want, I can link this canner below because I do really like this canner. I just got it last year for Christmas, but the stuff I've done in it has been phenomenal. So next thing, I'm just going to go through my chart here. Prep your food, put the rack in. So my rack is already in here. It stays stored in here. It says pour 3 quarts of water into the pot up to the fill line. I didn't actually know there was a fill line in here. All right, there is. Let me show you it. So if you look right here, there's the fill line. I've been measuring 3 quarts this entire time, not realizing there was a fill line. So we're going to go fill it up real quick to the fill line. All right, so then we are going to choose water bath can on our screen, and we're going to select that. We are going to can this jelly for 7 minutes. It's going to be the same time that I did my strawberry rhubarb jam and my elderberry jelly. The recipes all say 5 minutes, but I do 2 extra just in case. Apparently it won't let me do 7. It does increments of 5, so 5 minutes it is. Then it says insert jars. It also says on our instructions here to fill your jars half full of water. So let me grab some water to fill the jars. And then one thing the directions do not say, but I do it, is I add a splash of white vinegar in there. It says about 3 tablespoons on some of my recipes, and that's going to help prevent water scale from building up on the sides of your jar and leaving your jars cloudy. So I just pour a little in. We are going to put our jars in and filling them up halfway is so they don't float. And I would like this to be full, so I'm going to grab 2 more jars just to fill it, so that way when they boil it's not clinking together. I actually decided I am just going to put a quart in the center to hold them all. So I'm going to get this filled and then we will get that in there. All right, so I stuck just a quart jar, I decided, in there just to take up the space, because the recipe does say it's going to only make 6 jars, and I really just need to make sure that the jars aren't clinking together. So I'm going to put the lid on, lock it in. We're going to lock that part of the lid as well. We inserted the jars, which is what it says on the screen, so I'm going to push the play button. And now it is warming our jars. So while our jars are warming, we're going to move on over to the stove and we're going to get the jelly made. All right, so this recipe says to heat our peppers on high heat. So I'm going to put those in first, just to heat up. There's no oil or butter or anything in this pot, so we're not going to saute them. We're just going to heat them. While this is heating, I'm going to start measuring out our sugar. We need 5 cups of sugar. So our peppers are starting to sizzle a little bit. So here's 1/2 and 5. All right, so our peppers are starting to release some juice. It says to add 1 cup of apple cider vinegar to our peppers. And it also says to add 1 box of powdered pectin. And once everything's in there, we are bringing this up to boiling. Let me show you what it looks like. All right, so this is what our mixture looks like so far, and it is just starting to boil. All right, so our mixture is boiling now. So we are going to add in our 5 cups of sugar. All right, so you want the sugar to dissolve. And we're going to bring this back up to a boil. Right now you can tell there's still sugar undissolved because as you move your spoon around you can feel the granules. Even on my spoon there's some granules. That is tasting good. Before I give those peppers to my friend, I actually might call my husband up here to try this, because if he likes this and I like it and it's not that spicy, I might put in a Walmart order and get some more bell peppers and make this again. We love pepper jelly. We eat it over cream cheese that we either smoke on the smoker or just plain cream cheese, and we eat it with wheat thins and it's a tasty snack. All right, so I'm going to let this keep on heating and melting down the sugar. And I'm going to call my husband up because it is already starting to thicken. My other recipe for jalapeno jelly that I use tells me to blend the jalapenos before doing this. This one said to keep the peppers whole. If I make this recipe again, I'm probably going to measure out everything and then blend it. When you are heating it up after the sugar's in there, you need to stir constantly. All right, so we boiled the jelly. We did end up pureeing it. My husband wasn't a fan of the chunks, so we did puree it. And then we did the set test, which is you put some on a plate, you run your finger through. If it leaves a mark, you know it's going to set. We both do like this jelly. This jelly does actually have a little heat where my normal pepper jelly does not. And it's not overpowering heat. So I might get some more bell peppers and make a second batch of this. All right, so our canner beeped. Our jars are warm. It now says fill jars. We're going to open this up. I'm going to set this over on the stove on the not hot burner. And I'm going to pull out the jars. The key for this is we have to dump our water into the sink. If we dump it in here, it's going to be too much water. All right. You're going to fill this to about 1/2 inch head space. You're going to wipe your rim, put on your ring with your lid, and put this back in the canner and rinse and repeat. So theoretically, this should be our last jar. But there's enough for one more, I think. So we're going to give it a try. That could be because we blended it. So it does look like this will be our last jar. There is a little bit left, but I think I'm going to see if I can get it into this jar. I'm going to wash it with really hot water so the jar is warm already. All right, and let's see if we can get one more tiny little jar. I think we're going to be able to. Whew. Don't touch the side of your pan. We got it. Oh, I gotta take this guy out to make room for this one. Here is our filled canner. So let's get the lid on. All right, we're gonna put that lid on. Lock it in. And we're gonna push play because we filled our jars. And it is now going to heat and cook this for 5 minutes. We do not add the pressure gauge because we are not pressure canning. And while this is working, I'm going to get cleaned up. The canner beeped. It is done. So we are going to unlock it. We're going to open the lid. Make sure you're always opening away from yourself. I'm going to go set this on the stove. They're already sealing. I can hear them popping. All right, we're going to pull these out. We're going to put them on this towel over here. Whenever you take something out of your canner, you want to put it onto a towel or some kind of surface other than a hard surface that is cool or room temperature, because the temperature difference could shatter the jars as they sit there. That popping noise is music to a canner's ears. That pop means that you have a seal that is sealed and it is shelf stable. So everybody, I'm going to wrap these up and we will check back with you tomorrow morning to wrap this video up. We will check and make sure all of these seals have sealed. I also believe I'm going to run to the store and grab some more peppers. And instead of giving these to my friend, I am going to make a few more batches of jelly because that jelly was good. It had the perfect amount of after heat and a nice pepper flavor. So stick around. We'll check back in the morning to wrap this video up. All right, everybody. So here we have all of our finished products. We ended up with 8 quarts of banana peppers that we pickled. They have all sealed, so they are shelf stable. And then we ended up with 28 half pints of pepper jelly, and then 1/4 pint, I think that's the size of pepper jelly. So I'm going to get all these labeled. I'm going to get them on my shelf, and then they will be ready for us to enjoy. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to my channel. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. Please push the thumbs up button and share this with your friends. Hopefully you come back to enjoy more content. If you want to enjoy more content, I will put some videos on the side for you to enjoy. And hopefully you guys are having a nice day. Bye.